Hello there, welcome to another segment of Christians in Politics right here on Redemption Television Ministry. My name once again is William Stiloho, and I welcome you to another very exciting episode. I have with me someone in the house. It's not his first time, it's a friend in the house. He's been a very good resource person and someone who with a great wealth of experience on the field. And let me just give you an idea of who he is, because for those of us who are watching, who are just joining to the program, you want to hear this. He is a real estate tycoon, a farmer, a Christian film maker, a politician, an evangelist. Are Kolade Segun Okeowo. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
We're glad to have you, sir. It's our pleasure to have you in the studio once again.
My pleasure too.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. The last time he was here, he told us a lot. Let me allow you go back to our YouTube channel in case you missed that, and then watch some of those clips to follow up, to catch up. But then, like I said, don't go nowhere. He's always full of content, always full of wisdom from which to draw from, and many years of experience in the field, so you don't want to miss anything. Don't go nowhere. All right, sir. Once again, welcome back. And last time we talked, and we had a little look. You gave us a little paradigm shift from what we used to know politics to be generally as being a dirty game and all that. And you made it clear that confirming what the Bible says, to a pure man, all things are pure. And looking at it's how the game is played, and those who play it that actually make it look, it's not in itself dirty. I want to let's not go through that route yet, but having been in politics for more than 15 years, about 16 or so years now, you've gathered so much stamina politically. You've experienced, you've seen let me say a lot. You've seen a lot, both the good side and the not so good side together. We would like to ask, for today's discussion, how many times have you had to contest or vie for offices, elective offices, sir?
Well, thank you very much. Once again, I want to greet all the people at home. Now, let's go straight to your question. How many times have I contested? I've contested about 4 different times.
Okay.
I contested. The first time I contested was in 2011 for the Ogun State House of Assembly, of which I ended up becoming the candidate of the party. Of course, we didn't win the election. There was a shift in the politics of the state at that time. In 2015, I contested again. I made attempts to get into the Ogun State House of Assembly. I didn't even get near getting the ticket of the party at that time. There were so many other shenanigans that took place at that time. In 2019, again, I contested, and it was the same thing. In 2021, I shifted and I contested the chairman of the party. The chairman of the local government.
Yeah.
Of course, there were other shenanigans that took place again and again. So I've contested elections 4 times.
Wow.
And I think those 4 times had given me a wide range of understanding and how things work. Many of the things I say on programs, in symposia, in conferences, talking about political conferences and all of that, they are the kind of experiences I've gathered in these 4, consecutive times that I've contested in my under different political parties.
That's 4 times is no small time. And the beautiful thing about this is even though you didn't get to win the election per se, it builds in you stamina. It builds in you, like you said.
You know, one of the things this has taught me.
Yeah.
I've said it in one of our programs here. I said politics is not about elections.
Yeah.
That's one of the lessons. See, where many Christians miss it is this.
Okay.
A lot of Christians like me have contested once, twice,
and they
have chickened out. They have chickened out. Say, well, I contested once, I contested twice, I didn't get it.
Maybe
God,
it's not my turn.
God is not in this. If God were in it, somebody challenged me after I contested twice and I didn't win. He said, bro, God is not in it. If God is in it, you will have won. I said, this is an average ignorant Christian that thinks that politics is all about contesting election. Yes, I've not won the election. What about other offices I have privilege to take? What about party leadership, political party leadership? What about deciding fate? With that, actually, I said it here and again in many fora. I've said it. Those who trouble Nigeria don't contest elections. So those who are going to save Nigeria may not even contest elections.
Someone said that in another way, that very powerful people are not the ones you see in the ring, in the light, on the light or
you
posters.
Don't see them. They are in the background. And I said it, if I know, or let me say, if I knew, I wouldn't have started by contesting elections.
That's true. That's true. Okay, let's take it this way. There's also still talking before we flip this switch. Still talking about contesting and losing. How did you take it when you actually lost? Because aside from those who chicken out for Christian now, generally you observe that some parties, some individuals don't take that loss kind of well.
Yeah.
How did you manage yours?
Sincerely speaking, God help me.
Yeah.
Because just like you have said, I've seen cases, I've had cases of people who after losing elections had high blood pressure. I remember the case of somebody who fainted when the result was announced. He fainted, and landed in the hospital. And then there are cases of those who even went and commit suicide, outrightly. Now, in my own case, I was. Let me be grateful to God that I carried my wife along in my choice of either to contest or not. I can't remember when I said it on this program. It took me some years to convince my wife that I should go into politics.
Yes, you said
yes. And when eventually she agreed, we went all along together. And so when the results were announced, and I came back home after the announcement of the election, and the declaration of the result was that our party lost the election, I went to my supporters came. Yeah. Some of them were weeping, some of them were crying, all kinds of things. Of course, as a leader, I spoke with them, gave them some encouragement, shared some incentives again, and then they went back home. And I returned back home. Lo and behold, my wife was waiting at the door, and she gave me a rousing, heroic welcome. I remember her singing, "We now."
So how you
and that was it. So that really helped. That was a good shock absorber for me.
True.
Another shock absorber was before the election. I had prepared my mind for both sides, either to win or to lose. So I was ready for the two sides. I remember the leadership of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria called me before the election and said, "Bro, how are we sure that you will not dip your hands into evil in the process of this election?" And my response to them was, I will not dip my hands into evil because I am prepared to win and I'm also prepared to lose. So give or take, whichever way, I am prepared for both. And they clapped, they clapped for me, not knowing that they were actually preparing me for that, situation.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go again, electively.
Yes.
Tell us about your wins. Just talk to us a bit on that before we go on electively. What are your wins? What are the
take homes?
The take homes for you.
All right. Thank you. I've said it again and again. My first take home is that politics is not about elections, or it's not only about elections. Election is what the public see in politics. There's more that politicians see than elections. That is not known to. That's my first take home. My second take home is that INEC don't count prayer points. INEC does not count prayer points.
That's strong.
Yes, INEC will not count prayer points. So when we pray for candidates, we are doing well. That's okay. To pray for political candidates, especially Christians who are contesting election. It's good to pray for them. But INEC will not count our prayer points. And it is the votes that count.
Talking about faith and work.
Right? Not prayer points. And that's one of the albatross of many Christians in politics. They get more prayer points than votes. And unfortunately, INEC will not count prayer points. So that's one of the take-homes that I have also taken from politics. So many. What about the fact that in elective offices,
yes, sir,
there are so much landmines?
Good.
So much landmines. And one of the biggest landmines of elective offices is that all eyes are on you. All eyes are on you.
The pressure becomes...
I have said it over and over. The greatest level of corruption in this country is not perpetrated by politicians. Those who understand have listened to me. But because all eyes are on elective offices, the corruption of elective officers seem to, come to the open more. The greatest corruption in this country is perpetrated by civil servants. Is perpetrated by civil servants. But because they are not elected, they don't have a tenure of office.
Good.
They have 35 years to spend.
It's gradually accumulating.
Exactly. Exactly. They spend 35 years, for those who, who succeed in, getting to the limit. But the limit of a politician
in Nigeria,
the executive is 8 years. For the legislators, maybe more, because a legislator can do second term, third term, fourth term, fifth time, and so on. But for the executive, it is 8 years. That's the maximum you can stay in office.
And interestingly, eyes are not too much. There's not too much focus on the legislature.
Yes, unlike the executive. So it is the politicians, it is elective offices that bust you into limelight. When the civil servant steals money, he and his family goes back home to spend the money. But when the politician when the politician steals money, woe betide him if he spends it alone. They're not even born him well. He can't spend it alone. He has a large retinue of people who are hanging on him, who are waiting for him to steal the money and come and throw the largesse. But when the civil servant steals the money, it's quiet. And do you know, no politician can steal money without the support, without the knowledge and support of the civil servant. It's not possible.
I see.
Because it is even the civil servant that know where money is. And they are the ones who will tell the politician, oh God, there's money here.
I've heard that argument somewhere.
So there is even more evil in the civil service. So that's why when pastors tell me, children of God should not do politics, I say, why? They say corruption. I say, sir, then tell your members to run away from the civil service. They say, why? I say, because there's more corruption in the civil service than in the politics. Because they don't know. There are many Christians in politics, in civil service. I have never seen a pastor who discourages anybody from going into civil service. But you discourage your members from going into politics. Come on. We are not getting it right.
And
we are not getting it right.
Both are supposed to be tools for influence.
Yeah, exactly. In
the hand of a believer.
None of them is bad. The civil service is not bad. Politics is not bad. They are avenues for management of human and natural and financial resources. So the two of them are okay. But it depends on the personalities involved, either in the civil service or in politics. But I can tell you for free, in this nation, in fact, the history of corruption shows that the biggest corruption fraud ever was perpetrated by a civil servant, not even by a politician.
And when we go still in that line of thought, I think one of the things that make elective offices, puts elective offices so much in the light, will be the fact that most of them want to do whatever it takes, the way, the drive with which they push to get into those offices. Talking about the last general elections, there were places, I'm not just going to, there were places, not just one, across the nation where guns had to come out, shootings had to happen, and all that one day. You get the point? So when people go all this or do all of this to get into office, it makes people, others who are watching, the onlookers, to conclude that these guys must have so much. And again, talking about the civil service, it's a gradual, from level to level, gradual accumulation, and so it doesn't make much noise.
Exactly.
Like when a politician who reels out maybe a chunk sum that would have taken a civil servant many years to accumulate, and then so. I think that's one of the...
Your analysis is perfect. It's correct. You are right.
That is giving that. So let's come back to our channel. Now, we've been looking at Christians in politics.
Yeah.
How would you describe your time in office? How would you describe your time in office?
All right, as
both of the office combined, or every office you've occupied.
Yes, I have been the chairman of a party in my local government, one of the two major political parties in Nigeria, for that matter. I have served in the state ESCO at that time. I have also been part of a reconciliation committees. I have been part of a presidential campaign. I've led presidential campaign 2 times, no, in fact 3 times. I've been involved in the campaign of Goodluck Jonathan, President Goodluck Jonathan. I was involved in the campaigns of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I was involved in the campaigns of His Excellency, the current President, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I've been involved in all these campaigns, leading these campaigns at the local government level, and I've learned quite a lot. I've learned quite a lot. When I was the chairman of the party, one of the biggest challenges I had as the chairman of the party was the challenge of popular opinion. Okay. Popular opinion. What do I mean by popular opinion? Democracy is a game of number. You can't be a lone ranger in politics and get what you want. You can't afford to be. I was a chairman of the party. We had a 17-man ESCO. And out of the 17-man ESCO, we had 2.5 Christians. You know, I know what I'm saying when I say 2.5 Christians. You know, 2 of us were Christians. I know we're Christians. The other one, I was neither here nor there. So I always say we are 2.5 Christians. Many a times when they want to take decision, they put it to vote. They want to push it to vote, knowing fully well that if they push it to vote,
the odds are against
I will lose. So many times I had to, stylishly and refuse to let, voting come up, because I know that if they vote, the other side will always so it was really a tug of war. It was really tough. However, one of the things that God helped me with was integrity. The level of integrity which I brought into the leadership of the party at the local government level. It was during my tenure that they started giving, there's an emolument for party officers. Okay. When I came into politics, when I became the chairman of the party, I know that if they want to share money for the emoluments, politicians don't get money and say, come back and share it tomorrow. They know that by tomorrow, anything will happen to that money. The money could grow wings. Crocodile could eat it. Yeah. Monkeys, snakes can swallow it. Monkeys can disappear with it. So politicians can't wait. They will not listen to come tomorrow and collect your money. But when I became the chairman of the party, the trend changed. It became, your money is with KSO. And the usual comment I hear when I announce to them, ladies and gentlemen, your money is in my hand. They say, let's go home. So let's go home. That's influence. Let's go home. If our money is with KSO, then let's go home. And that gave me, a good leverage, that they know that once the money gets into the hands of KSO, they can as well go to bed. And they demonstrated it several times by okay, so we hear that our money is with you. I say, yes, your money is with me. They say, then anytime you are ready, call us to come and share the money. And of course, they are legal entitlements anyway.
Yeah.
When the time comes, when I'm convenient for me, I'll call a meeting and then I'll give everybody what is due to them as leaders in the party. So that, I say to any Christian who wants to go into politics, don't play with your integrity.
Good.
99% integrity for a child of God, for a Christian, will not work. It won't work. 99% integrity will not work. You know why? That 1%, that remaining 1% is what your enemies will be looking out for. And you know, there's always the clause waiting for you, and they call themselves a Christian. They are always waiting for the slightest opportunity to make use of that word, and he called himself a Christian.
And most time when they use that statement, they are not using it for your interest. They are using it so they can have their way.
Exactly. Exactly.
No? That's powerful. It's very powerful. And again, we've had someone come on the show and really focus on our attention on the place of integrity. You have also confirmed that that's 99%. Character integrity is not going to be helpful because you still leave that room for them. I'm just reminded in my spirit of Daniel, how that they sought an avenue to destroy him, but they couldn't get one.
They couldn't get one, not even one.
So, in other words, when you leave that one, it becomes a very, very dangerous entry for you. Let's quickly look at. You talked about losing 4 times, and of these 4 times, you still kept going.
Yeah.
You still kept going. People had argued, or like you said, we established here that people would say maybe God is not in with me after the first or second and then pull back. I'm still thinking, let's not go into the God factor yet. We'll get to that as we progress. But looking at it, now, if God said to get into politics, you've established that politics in the first place is not about election, or it's not just about
It's not just about elections.
So now, if God said to go into politics or give me a directive or a revelation or whatever to get into politics, I think it behooves of me to first of all find out what are my assignments. Do you think that's another avenue where Christians don't get it right? Because God might be sending you there not as the superstar per se, but some office of influence. Because whether we like it or not, there are people who still call on the governor, who still call on the president, and they say, I want to see you, and you have no choice than to be there.
Yeah, the Mordecai's.
Good. And not just be there, he will still do, at least to a great extent, some of their bidding. Unless if it's obviously out of order. But there are people still like that. What if Christians are called? Can we say Christians need to begin to look beyond just the spotlight of winning elections?
Well, really, see, the truth is this: whatever anyone sets out to achieve, there's a place of consistency. There's a place of consistency. There's a place of constancy. Doing the same thing, pursuing a goal. In recent times, I've taken attention to look at people who have become governors in my state, for example. In the last 2 dispensations, the 2 governors in my state were people who contested for that same office first time, second time, third time. The incumbent governor of Ogun State, for example, Prince Dapo Abiodun Emefaro, started contesting for the governor of Ogun State way back in 2003.
Wow.
2003. That's 21 years ago. His first attempt at becoming the governor of Ogun State was in 2003. And here we are, 2024. He is governor, 21 years after. The former governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, becoming the governor of the state in 2011 was his 3rd attempt at getting the governorship. So, you see, unfortunately, in the body of Christ, we are used to miracles.
Good.
We are used to divine interventions. We are used to seeing things happen, not knowing how it happened. We are used to hearing, my God will do it. How he will do it, I don't know. And so we carry that into politics, and we expect things to happen miraculously. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen like that in politics. Things don't. It's not about miraculous. The current president in Nigeria, the incumbent, His Excellency, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has lost the ambition of becoming the president of Nigeria more than 20 years ago. So when in 2023, he came out and said, Emilokan, it is my turn. That was not mere rhetorics. It was not mere rhetorics. It was a combination of ambition, intention, consistent working,
background working, a journey of over 20 years. So it didn't just happen. It was not a miracle. The hand of God, yes, but the hand of God backed by consistent effort over the years. That is what we don't know how to do. And that is affecting a lot of Christian involvement in politics. When, for example, a child of God contests election and he doesn't win, I can tell you 90% of pastors supporting him will lose interest. That's if at all he himself is still trying to...
That is if at all. 90% of those following him will lose interest, and more than 80% will likely say, if it was God that called him, if it was God, he will have won. And that's a very dangerous and very myopic way of thinking.
You just talked that part. I was going to say that after you were done. And I think it still goes back to what some preachers have called microwave Christianity, where if God has to be in it, then it has to be easy. If God has to be in it, or if God... But then sometimes we forget that even our Lord Jesus Christ, to have a 3-year impactful ministry, it took him 30 years.
To prepare. Correct.
To study, to learn, to build capacity. And I think, give it to the president of Nigeria, current president of Nigeria, is being a strategist. He's worked his way, he's planned his plan, he has structure. I'm not singing his praise, but that is one thing that has played out for him, or in his favor in this last election. Beside the God factor, that where God maybe have allowed whoever will, whether God's will or permissive will, that is for God to decide. But this is one thing I know, and I feel Christians need to know, come to that point where we see that sometimes God is leading you into a process, or maybe there's something you want, but then it's not working out. It's time for you to build capacity. It's time for you to understand
persist
how this thing works. Because, okay, take for instance somebody who just come to win election. You just joined politics this year, you won election. You really have not understand what political structuring and all the systems are like.
You know, that affected the former vice president.
Yeah.
He has the clout. He has a clout. He has all it takes, But there was something that was missing: the background, the political sagacity, the experience, the gathering of, structure. Sure. There was the structure was not existing. There was not existing political structure, and that is part of the things that win election. There's more to winning election than crowd. What wins election is not crowd. It's not crowd. God, one of my take home from my experience is that crowds don't win election. It's what wins election is structure. Structures.
So it's possible to have a crowd
and not have a structure. You can have a crowd, but you don't have a structure.
You have a crowd.
Let me give an example. His Excellency Peter Obi has a crowd.
True.
He has a crowd. He had the crowd, but the structure was missing. What is structure? Structure is when you put in place people who could, on their own volition, say, "I'm going to die." That's a structure. The crowd will disappear at the slightest threat. Gather a crowd and shoot a gun.
You will know.
You will know. Gather a structure and shoot a gun. You will see the difference. You will see the difference.
That's interesting.